Okay, so this is after the scrub. Casey's going to come in then. Her arms have been scrubbed and she's going to gown and glove. She needs to gown and glove off of the mayo stand. Remember we said not off your back table. And the first thing she's going to do is she's going to come in and do the towel. She's going to do it correctly the first time. She reaches in and she grabs it right at the top. So that way she knows exactly where her fingers are at all times. She's not touching that gown. Okay, she's going to reach in and grab.
So we don't want to do this. Way too close.
Way too close. Yeah, so she's got to come right at the top, pull it off, step back, and she's going to unfold the towel. We're using paper towels. You're going to see paper towels and cloth towels, but we're going to use the paper towel more than likely. She's going to fold it in half, and you can see that she's bending over a little bit so the towel does not touch her gown, and we're watching for that. She started at her hands. She's rotating her arm, not the towel. She comes and she grabs the other end. Does her hands. Remember, you got a one shot. If you don't get your hands dry, your gloves are going to really stick. So spend a little time at your hands, rotate it up. Now when she hands it off, she's just going to hand it off like that and get rid of it. All right? Casey, let's do it wrong for the next one. Did you have a towel? Oh, here it is. Okay. So Casey's going to do it wrong.
Too close.
Too close. She's standing too close to her mayo stand, way too close to her mayo stand. She didn't fold it in half, and she's running her towel all over the place. It touched the front of her gown. Now she's just running all over the place. She's going back down to her hands, and she's wadding it all up. That's wrong. All right. Okay, so we're going to do it correctly. We're going to come in then. We're dry. Notice Casey's hands or her arms. I call them chicken wings. They're sticking out.
So remember, if you had done a brushless scrub and your hands weren't wet and you didn't need that towel, we're still going to pick it up just like I was going to dry with it, right in the center. And then you're just going to take and either hand it to someone who's unsterile, staying a safe distance, or just toss it right into the trash.
Okay.
But we tend to recommend picking up the towel by itself and not trying to get the towel and the gown at the same time, because you're probably going to drop one and then end up contaminating. So I would just pick up the towel, get rid of it, and then I'm going to come in and pick up my gown.
Okay, Casey's going to do it the correct way the first time. She's going to come, see how she comes in from the top and grabs? That's how I want you to do that. Then she can peel it back. She can then use her other hand to grab hold if she needs to pull it up off the mayo stand. Bad way is, look where her thumb is. Can she see that? Because I sure can't, except with the camera. She's going to reach over.
None of that.
Is she
Way
touching?
too close.
Even in the
close.
front. Even in the front, if she thinks that she can, and she comes in with her thumb from under the front, is it okay? No. Just go from the top, grab it. If she needs to, she can take her other hand to grab it and bring it back. Okay. Notice Casey's arms are still out like wings. She's not letting her arms touch her scrubs. She's going to open the gown and she's going to slip in one arm, come down to her belly, grab her belly. She's going to slip it in and grab her belly. We see students a lot of times, they put it on, and where do they rest their hand? Way up high, right up to her neck, and that's too close. So just remember, grab your belly because you're going to be feeling sick trying to get this
Another
down.
thing I will see students do is they bring the elbows in like this. Well, now I've just, contaminated everything. So they get the gown and then the elbows automatically end up like this. So that, remember, the elbows have to stay out like this. Other things too. Remember, you can't do this. I'll see students go like this and try to grab the gown and slide the gown on like this. See where my arm is? Up here, right by the neckline? So we don't do that kind of stuff either. We go in one, come down to the belly, go in the other. We also don't do this thing where you're swimming and come in and come down. It's one arm at a time. You're watching it go in, come down.
She turns around and she watches her other arm in, and she comes in, she grabs her belly. Where are her hands?
My fingers never go through the white cuff.
Do I see pink through the cuff? Nope.
Okay, and then your unsterile person will tie you in the back.
When you're going to tie, you don't want to come up over the front and try and grab way up here. Stay back here in the unsterile and just pull them up over until it's behind. Now I can secure the neck with never having to reach over the front. Right? Then you tie, find the inside string. You have the piece that's hanging out over here. You don't go after that one, you go after the one on the inside. and just tie this one together.
Casey is far enough back away from her mayo stand, so now she can kind of come in to put her gloves on. We're looking for how far away are you from that mayo stand? Is your tie, you're going to be touching that soon. Is it going to be touching that? That would be way too close. And so in lab we're going to be watching.
Too close.
Yeah, in lab we're going to be watching that she's back. Now she's bending into her mayo stand, and that helps keep you away. Her hands are still cuffed, and she's going to reach in and she's going to grab her gown. Okay, as she's gloving, her fingers are behind the seam line of that gown. You want to show them your seam line real quick? Yeah, right in there. Okay, so that's where she's going to put her glove. And then she's going to grab, her fingers are still back in the cuff. I'm going to watch for pink is what I'm watching, to see your fingers coming out the ends. And she'll just flip it over, pull it on. Doing the same thing with the other one. Again, look how close Casey is to the mayo. She's perfect. She's far enough away. Once you get that second glove, you can just always step way back even. And then you know that you're not going to end up touching your gown or your wrapper. What have we just done on this wrapper? We came in with wet hands. We reached for our towel with our bare hands. Could we have dropped water on our gown? I hope not. There's always the possibility. If you do drip water onto your gown or onto your gloves or anything, now that gown has become contaminated, and we'd have to open a new one. So we've reached over our sterile field with bare hands. We've grabbed our towel. We've reached over our mayo stand with bare hands and grabbed our gown, and then we put on our gloves. And so there's been a lot of things that have happened on this mayo stand that the potential of contaminating is there. This is why we gown off the mayo stand, not off the back table.
I see students sometimes when they're coming up here to get the glove, when they have this cuff like this, it'll be really close maybe to the edge. And so here, this cuff is flapping out here like this. See how that would be a problem? Because now that's touching my unsterile mayo stand. And remember, it's unsterile an inch around the edge as well. So you really got to watch that. So you kind of make sure, you keep them angled in where it's only going to be touching the sterile, to make sure that it's not flapping over the edge like this. So you really got to make sure you watch those cuffs when you pick up your gloves too. And you also too, I'll see students also, they're kind of shifting with the gloves, and then this thing ends up happening where I'm shifting, because remember all this down here is unsterile. So if I end up with something like this, and here I am trying to glove, that portion was unsterile. That's where I touched when I opened this gown wrapper. So we really want to make sure you're not shifting. And so if you're really struggling to get your gloves out, you can kind of pick them up a little bit too, take it out and then set it down so that you're not shifting it so much up here on the gown wrapper as well. So remember, once a sterile area has been established, we don't want to change it, because then you're going to have unsterile being brought up to a sterile area.
Okay, so Casey's got her first gloves on then. They're on good. And before she comes and puts her second pair of gloves on there on the back table, she needs to tie with the circulator. So she's going to keep always looking at the sterile field, and the circulator will take that around. She's going to go ahead and hold the short string in her left hand. She's going to hand the circulator, and you can see that the card is separated. We've got this blue right here. This is where the circulator can touch, and this is where Casey's touching. She gets a bigger portion because she's sterile and I'm not. She's going to hang on to that far back away. She's not going to grab it up here and hand it to me, because then look how close I'm going to be.
Way too close.
So she's going to hold it back there. She's going to hand that to the circulator. They're going to take it at that blue area. They're going to come around so she doesn't turn her back to the sterile field. He's going to pull it off, and then they're going to tie.
You sure you're not doing this thing where you
Yep.
reach back here? Wait till they come all the way around. Because can you see back here? Can't see
Nope.
back there.
I can't see behind me.
Let's talk about what happens if it falls off the gown card.
Okay. All right, we're going to do a scenario here for you.
I got you.
Okay.
And this is something that will be practiced in lab. Sometimes not really practiced. Contaminations happen. So we just have to be able to figure out how to get out of them. All right, so Casey's going to hand the circulator the card. They go to spin, and they accidentally, pulled it off. Look, there's her tie that Casey was going to have to tie with. All right, now we can salvage this gown. There's always a way to salvage some things sometimes. So Casey's going to hold that string in her left hand, Circulator's gonna grab way far away, bring it up and around. Gonna grab that tie that dropped, and they're gonna tie that behind her. And we always say that our gowns are not sterile in the back because we can't see them. It's considered an unsterile area of the gown. Well, now it really is because Rick's been back there touching it there. So he's snapped off the rest so it wouldn't get in the way, and we're just gonna leave it like that. Depending on the case, this situation will work just fine. If I was doing a case where my back gets turned to my back table a lot because I'm doing a big total joint working off the table, some other cases like that where you've got multiple tables behind you, we're just going to go ahead and get a new gown and glove, and we'll go over that scenario here in a second.
And remember, we always tie before we approach the back table to put our second pair of gloves on, because some of the gowns, the tie's hanging way down here. Remember, the table's only sterile to here. So if I belly up and here's my tie down here, now I'm grabbing and touching something that was below a sterile area. So we always spin before you approach the back table. And then, so something that you might see people do, which is a big no-no, is this, and throw this away, okay?
Nope.
So, like Cindy was talking about, that's the main reason why we gown from a separate surface, because there's a lot of risk of contamination of putting the gown on. So instead of myself touching that, because I'm sterile and I don't want to touch that, I'm going to ask my circulator to take my trash and check my wrapper. And then they'll get rid of that. Perfect, thank you. Then we'll put our second pair of gloves on. So remember, these are those indicator gloves, okay? So they're usually like a blue or a green. And then the outer glove is going to be a white or like a tan. And that way, in the presence of a puncture in the glove, then it's going to show up kind of as a dark spot, and that will alert you to the fact that you need to check your gloves and make sure that you don't have a hole that's gone through both. Once we're spun around though, we want you to belly right up to that table. So don't think that you need to step back as you're putting this other pair of gloves on, because if you accidentally drop it, then it's going to be contaminated. Once you're sterile, you belly right up to that table, come right up and just don that second pair of gloves. Okay. All right, we're going to show you how to gown and glove a surgeon now, and also just some different scenarios. So, Rick, if you want to be my surgeon.
It's casual Friday in the OR. The circulator's wearing jeans.
Came in from the golf course.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Okay, so when we gown and glove a surgeon, we need to look. So sometimes your docs are going to come in and they used Avogard or some other brushless scrub. So you're going to look and see, oh, do they need a towel or not? So if they do, you want to take the towel, open it up, okay? So we want to hold it on the short side here, and we're going to lay it across the hand. Now, I don't want to bring it up the arm like this, because remember when we talked about scrubbing, this is the most clean section of the hand. So I don't want to put it up here because that's the side of the towel he's going to dry his other hand with. Okay, so I just lay it across. I also want to make sure I don't touch him, because this is not impervious and he's wet. So now we've wicked, you can actually see some of the wetness on there, we've wicked his hand to my glove, which is now contaminated, okay? So you just take, and you're gonna lay it across his hand, and then he's gonna dry. Now I don't need to stand there and watch him dry. I can come over here and I can get things ready. All right, so remember on the gown, you're gonna see the neckline and also the writing. So the writing is gonna hit the person in the chest that's gonna wear it. So when I open this up, I wanna make sure that that's pointing towards the person that's gonna put the gown on.
Kind of opens like a book.
Yep.
Like if you're reading a book.
Okay, so once they're dry, see how I've stepped away from my table, right? I don't want to open this up over here, so I step back, but I'm also making sure I don't do this, right? So if Rick comes in and he's really close to me, and he's like, all right, I'm ready to get the gown and gloves on, and I'm like, I can't do that without turning my back. Sometimes you have to guide him to get away from the sterile field. So if I step back, guess what? He's going to follow me, okay?
Yep.
So you guide him to make the right choice. So again, I'm going to open this up so I have it facing the right direction. Now, if you accidentally opened it the wrong direction, as long as it's out and it hasn't touched anything, we can simply just take and turn it around, as long as the sleeves haven't been contaminated.
Okay, so look where Casey has that. She's got it held out in front of her. It's not touching her.
So the sleeves are away, because the sleeves are the most sterile part of this gown. If I have them up here, guess what? Now they're contaminated. They've touched me where I'm unsterile.
Okay.
So make sure they're out here.
So, yeah.
And then I take my hands and I make sure that they're adequately cuffed so that they don't get contaminated.
She makes sure that it isn't touching the floor. That's important. She's going to hold it out for the surgeon to go ahead and come in, and she's going to stop about right there is where she's going to stop and pull her hands out. Now I have to tie up. So as the circulator then is tying up the surgeon, then you will be exposing their hands. The surgeon will hold their arms kind of at a 90-degree angle, and you're just going to like pull it back. Where is she touching?
Yeah, remember this is the weak link, right? So I'm not going to touch here, I'm not going to touch here, any of that stuff as the hand comes through. So when I pull back the sleeve, it needs to be back here.
Okay, and just pass their hands is good enough. All right, now she's going to go ahead and get their gloves. She's verified now that they're right-handed and what size gloves they wear. So she's going to go ahead and she's going to get their glove, and she's going to have the thumb pointing towards the surgeon. In case you want to unwrap it again.
Yeah.
So there's the thumb. Okay, so the thumb is going to be pointing to the surgeon. You're going to go around down the side of the seams, and you're going to roll that around and make this big, nice cowboy hat. Look at Casey's fingers. See how they're all contained? Show me how I don't want to see them.
I don't know if
She
I
can't
can
even do it
it.
wrong. There's her thumbs, and she's made a nice
Or like this,
yeah,
or-
and she's made a slit. Is what she did. She just made this slit. I mean, now she's got the nice big there hole. So she needs to kind of like make a nice hole for him to come in. There he goes. Got it in, and she pulls up. Now, really important when she puts that glove on, that she kind of digs her arms into her sides a little bit. She's going to keep her hands level. She's not going to go down as the surgeon digs his hands in. She's not going to go with them. She's going to stay right where she's at, and the surgeon's going to come in. They're going to do a finger assist to help, and then she's going to hold still while they pull in. Okay. Now she's got the surgeon's gown and gloves on.